everybody for joining. We're going to be working on this recording to make sure that we put it on YouTube. I'll be working with Powerful Exploits, and they will be putting it. And once they send me the link, I will post it and include it in a part of my pinned tweet. Once again, I partnered with the Top Achievers Network, which is under Powerful Exploit International, with Pastor Falodun, who has been a very great great encourager when it comes into all these things. When I told you that I've been doing this for 14 years, guiding people out to come to the US, but I only put in the link on Nairaland and answered questions. So he said, no, you have a Twitter page, keep doing it, keep pushing out the messages and things like that, So I want to really appreciate him. Pastor Falodun, thank you very much. Thank you for being an encourager and pushing me. I just want to stay in my comfort zone, but, doing this is actually giving me joy. And as I've told you, everything you are getting from this platform, from my Twitter page, is free. I'm not going to ask you for money, and I'm not going to give you money. It's totally free, and I'm just doing it. It just gives me joy to do it. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been doing this for 14 years. Part of my mentees, one of them is an assistant professor even two of them, in the US, and they were part of this too. So hopefully I'm trusting God that next year, many of you will be here, and you also be mentoring others that want to come here as well. Maybe you'll be getting the spotlight like Dr. T now.
Got that. Some institutions are, they have top ranking. For example, we all hear about Harvard, Stanford, UCLA. These are great institutions, right? But then they might have a program that is not even among the top ranked program in the United States. It's cool that it's like number 125 in the nation, can have the best program in maybe social sciences. You just don't know. So you have to do that finding. So is that why you're applying? And then does it align with your area of interest? And then who are the faculty members in this program of interest? I want us to also be aware that every institution have a website, and they put in the information of their faculty members. They will not hide any of such information because it's for public knowledge. In fact, you can even download the CV of some professors or some faculty members from their website. The reason all of this is available is that you can get to see what they are doing. And if you are interested, you can reach out to them. They are also trying to sell themselves to the way you are also trying to sell yourself in your program or for your by writing a statement of purpose. Now, mind you, you're writing your application to the admitting body first, because this program that you're applying to, or the faculty member that you intend to work with, might not even have access to your application at all. So at the first stage, we don't know. So you also want to make sure that when you are writing this, it is an institution that you want to be. And then you also want to look at this institution based on the funding that they have. What kind of resources? First of all, why do people want to come to the United States rather than just stay in Nigeria? We all know that there's a lot of resources, right? You have access to high-class equipment, well-equipped laboratories, highly trained expertise. So yes, that same way we have that mindset, we also have that mindset of the type of institution. So we have public institutions, we have private institutions. You will get more funding in public institutions because they get a lot of money from federal government through grants, through all sort of trusts, all sort of funding. They have donors who just don't know what to do with their money and just like give it to one department or the other. So So you want to be aware of the institutions that have funding, the institutions that have money. And R1 institutions are very heavy on research. An institution that is heavy on research means that they have funding. Now, we are still going to talk about personal statement or statement of purpose, but I want us to begin to think about the relevance of where you are putting in your application. If you are truly passionate about the program and then you want funding, or at some point you really want the best out of this program. Well, that's why you want to look at R1 institution. R2 institutions have funding, they do research, they have money, but it's not as much as what R1 institutions have. An example of R1 institution, you want to look at University of Georgia, Athens, UGA, University of Iowa in Iowa, University of Florida in Florida, University of Texas. All those, not so you can look it up. You can always read up on that. And if you have questions along the way, I can see if I can get just type it on Google. What are R1 institutions in the United States? So that way you can be able to help narrow your applications and find out the best place to put in your application. All right. I was going to play this, but I won't take too much of our time. I already have it in reference. I'm happy to share the slide. It's just basically telling us about the difference between the personal statement and statement of purpose. So there are some applications, there are some programs when you apply, they give you a specific question. And then there are some programs where they just tell you to write a statement of purpose. In a personal statement, it's usually very brief. It's just concise. You talk about your career goals, you talk about things you've achieved, and you put it together in a very concise way to make sure that it aligns with what they want in that program. A statement of purpose in the statement of purpose, you go in details as to how you achieved something, how you developed some qualities. I'll talk more about that. If you say that you are a very patient person, you will not go and state it there in the statement of purpose that you're a patient person. What experience did you have that depicts patience? What results did you achieve through patience? Those are important things you need to think about when you're writing your personal statement or statement of purpose. I'll just skip that. All right. So why are these institutions requesting for a personal statement or a statement of purpose? Number one, the admission committee want to understand your academic objectives. And they want to see that you're a good match for that program, not for the institution alone itself, but for the program that you're applying to. And so the only document that you're providing that gives a detailed explanation of who you are, what you've achieved, and what you intend to achieve is that personal statement. You can send in your GPA, your transcript. It's just academic output of what you've done so far. But then it's not giving them details of who you are and how you even achieved that GPA itself. So you want to make sure that you are selling yourself. You are telling your story. And also, when you're sending this to them too, another part is that it's more of like, are you worth our time and investment? So if for example, coming into a PhD program, these professors would be invested in you to some extent. So are you a good match that I can invest my time? So the same way, if you see it that way, you also want to be able to tell that story in such a way that, yes, you invest your time and money on me because I believe that I'm worth it. Taking that mindset into your application would help you create a strong story, compelling story. And then what qualities or personality do you possess, which includes your writing abilities, because you're writing this. And if you're going into a graduate program, you cannot run away from writing. From week one, you'll be writing. And if you are going to be a doctoral student, either if you want to get a PhD, whether you choose to be a professor or not, everyone will be trusting you for your writing abilities. So you need to be able to tell them from the onset that you can write. Now, do you need to educate yourself in the process of writing this? Yes, 100%. You don't need to know everything. Do you need to consult people that can help you review it? Yes, you need to. And then I'll say more in the following slide. All right, so your introduction. It's very important. So I'm very sure that we're very aware of this statement that if you're meeting someone for the first time, you want to make a good impression. I mean, not pretense, but then you're trying to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward in your introduction. So I came up with this. There are a lot of resources online, and the reason why I'm a little bit very careful with presenting all of the information that I found online, but then focus on my own personal failures and successes, is that it will help you to think about a practical way to apply it to yourself rather than an abstract story that you put all online that you need to read. Yeah, it all works, no doubt. But then looking at your own story yourself would help you with writing that compelling story. So this is very important introduction, and the approach to having a strong introduction is not unique, is diverse. You don't have one approach to it. And some program, as I said earlier, some program will ask you specific questions, just like you have personal statements. Some will not ask you specific questions. For example, some program will ask you, what are your academic expectations for this program? And you need to be able to answer that. And I'll show you another question later on. But a possible way to start that introduction, I drafted this real quick. Like, for example, artificial intelligence is a fast-growing, innovative tool. I mean, assuming that artificial intelligence is a tool here, right? That recently caught my attention, especially about its application towards the treatment of rare disease. This is just a first-time statement that I haven't spent so much time to review and analyze. But imagine that you're writing something like this, that, okay, so you're applying to a program where it's an engineering program, they do deep learning, or even if it's an agricultural program and they collect a lot of agricultural data and you need to apply AI, so you're tailoring that key component of that program to your interest or to what caught your attention. You can start your first sentence anyhow you want it, but make sure that it's active. The sentence is in active form, not passive format. And then you are making a statement that the reviewer is already thinking, okay, what is this student about to say? You need to make them want to read this next sentence from the beginning, and you must always align it with your program of interest. Don't just cook up a story. Tell your story. If you cook up a story, they will know. Because you've given them multiple data points other than your personal statement or your statement of purpose. You've given them your GPA, you filled out a form online. They all have access. They have access to all of this information. And then be careful of using tragic stories that are not relevant or genuine. There are some tragic stories or there's some story, our life experiences that are genuine. And no one can take that away. But this is an application where you want to make sure that when you are using it, it aligns with your academic goals. It aligns with what you want to get from them and what you are telling them that you have. So, for example, if you have a relative or someone that has a genetic trait, and that is what is genuinely inspiring you to go into genomics or molecular biology, or you have an experience of people that are hungry, of someone that have been sick because of hunger or had ulcer because of hunger, and then that is what is really pushing you towards food nutrition and economics and food distribution or whatever, put it there. But just don't put a story just because you want them to know that you have a bad experience that they need to listen to you. No. All right. So, and then as I already said that earlier, so just make sure that if you're using it, it resonates with your why. Make whatever it is that you're saying simple. Make it easy to read, that even if you give it to a 6-year-old or 8-year-old to read, they would understand. Oh, uncle, so you want to be a biologist? That's how you don't have to use all the grammars, idiomatic expressions. You don't have to use those big terminologies. That's just the truth, because you want to make sure that it's not only you that understand it. Your audience can clearly see what you want them to see. So make sure you don't confuse. In other words, don't confuse don't confuse your audience, because they will not tell you that, hey, Tunde, can you clarify what you wrote there? All right. So I wish this could be more interactive, because I really wanted someone to just like skim through this and tell me which one would they give preference to in this this summary that I just put in there. I'll continue talking, but if someone can just read through this, I'll just skim through it, just skim through the first paragraph and just like tell me, what do you see?
Okay, let me unmute Linda and see if she can read. Yeah. Okay, can you unmute Linda? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll read the first one.
Okay.
The impact, your academic expectation of the program. The impact of research and innovation has played a tremendous role in the growth of XYZ practice. Having identified my passion and career goals, I decided to pursue a career in nursing research. My core expectation for the doctoral program is to develop research skills and obtain training that will position me to be a great scientist. I want to make a difference in the XYZ profession, and I look forward to working with faculty members on projects and classes that encourage my interest in innovations. Now, the second paragraph, most importantly, I hope to attain academic excellence throughout the course of the program and complete the doctoral program within 3 years. More so, to improve on my quantitative analysis skills, I look forward to learning advanced statistical approaches and research designs to achieving excellent research outcomes. While statistics, data, and information technology are a vital tool in our modern day healthcare practice, I hope to learn how faculty members, Dr. XXX, Dr. YYY, and Dr. ZZZ have incorporated this into making informed healthcare decisions. I would love to work with a faculty member on research that would be published in a peer review journal and presented at conferences. Lastly, I hope to have a career mentor that will guide and support me while I make myself available and strive to be the best.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So do you want to read the second one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let her go ahead then. Yeah.
Okay, now the first question. What experiences have you had that have led you to apply to a research-focused doctoral program in XYZ? What strengths would you bring that would impact your success in the PhD program? While growing up, I developed a passion for achieving my goals and getting to the peak of my career. And now that I'm a professional, I have observed over the years that the reality of my dreams continues to evolve. I can relate this progress so far to my dedication, determination, and perseverance to making a difference in my chosen career path. I embarked on this career path in nursing because of my concern for people's health. And later, during my learning process at work and school, I found out that the reason patients keep coming to the hospital is because of environmental factors that are out of their control, behavioral patterns, and political system within their community. My experience in clinical and political setting has given me so much insight into how I can engage in what would inspire me to provide elaborate nursing care to a population for improved health, as well as keeping the ecosystem healthy through research and policy development. Interestingly, I figured out a Master of TGT program with a concentration in OPP was a path that could widen my scope about the health needs of the population, as I have also learned about the tools necessary for developing interventions. Since I started this journey, the picture of TGT continues to become clearer to me. I discovered that this area of XYZ needs more highly trained, passionate, and qualified healthcare professionals who would be positioned to engage in research that would translate to an evidence-based practice and in turn improve the health of the population. Furthermore, I was engaged in several guided research projects from my undergraduate program, and I have observed a huge progress in my research abilities, including statistical analysis, and this has helped build my confidence for the pursuit of a doctoral degree. My research abilities continue to improve efficiently as I remain exposed to several research designs and necessary statistical tools needed to get desirable results.
All right, thank you very much, Linda. So
Welcome.
you read this and you answer one question later on, but I want somebody else to answer this first question. Okay. Which one is more interesting? They have different questions.
Can you call somebody on the chat and
okay. I think I need to look at the participants.
Okay. Yeah, let me call Ebenezer. Ebenezer, can you unmute?
Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Ebenezer. So which one would you, reading this, which one would you give admission to? Which one would you admit to your program?
Okay, for me, I will go with the first person, the first one, because it's simple, it is straight to the point, and yeah, I think that's what I think. Yeah.
All right. So Linda, do you want to tell us? You read.
Let's ask Michael too. Michael Ifere, can you unmute?
Okay.
Yeah, Michael. Which one will you go for?
Okay. While reading, I noticed that the first one looks like a statement of purpose, and the second one looks like a more personal statement. So both of them are very good, but just like the previous speaker said, the first one is concise and straight to the point. So I would admit the first one. Okay.
All right, sounds good. I'll take one more person and then I'll move on to.
Okay, I think somebody was saying something in the chat. Let me unmute Akinyele. Akinyele, can you try to unmute? I'm looking for you now. Yeah, please go ahead. Akinyele Olaoluwa.
I think you just put it there that the first one is just a general statement.
Yeah, Akinyele, can you talk?
Good evening. Good evening. I think the first, the first statement I'm saying here is just generalized. I don't know what is driving you, or things you want to do, but I'll rather the second person because
the line is breaking.
The person has a clear line of he has where he's going to. This is what he wants to do. Thank you.
Okay, so you will give the second one admission, right? Yeah, I think Winifred is saying something. Winifred, can you unmute?
Good evening, Prof.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening. Just go ahead.
I'm going to go with the second one because the prospective student actually laid down all what they asked her for. Like they said, what experiences have you had that led you to apply for research doctoral program? So she has given all her experience, what motivated her, her goals, everything. She laid it out concisely, everything just going down to the last question. So what strength will you bring that will impact your success in the program? So she has given it. Even when you go to the down, she says further, I will engage in several research works. Like she has given herself more job or more assignments that will keep her focused all through her studies.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Winnie.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. I really love this insightful comments. Well, you guys are very correct that both have, there are different questions, but and the reason why I deliberately showed these two story is that one actually got admission into a top institution and one was rejected by a top institution. And so I want us to begin to see the power of simplicity. It's not even about the story or the fact that, oh, it's not strong enough to, can everyone hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
I need to
we
make
can.
sure that because I'm more about the screen right now. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So one got admission, one did not get admission. Why? And it's still the same GPA, the same institution, the same everything when it comes to experience, resume, and all. So it shows that when we're the same GRE score. So when we're writing, the only difference that we cannot account for is the differences in the admitting officers or the individuals that reviewed it or the number of students that applied. We can't account for that right now. But the most important message here is simplicity. In the second one, you can see that there are sentences that add several commas. There are several commas to drive out the point. There are some that you didn't even the student didn't even need to put in some information. It's not just necessary. So just go straight to the point. And then how is it aligned to that institution itself? Like how is it aligned with what they are doing in that institution? Not just your story. So I tagged it your aligned story. I don't know if that makes sense. Your aligned story. And it's very, very important. That's what makes it compelling. So yeah, I'll just move into the next slide. But the first one is very simple, straightforward, aligned with what they are doing. Even brought out the names of the second one, name of professor. The second one, even the strength are not what these are not like the actual strengths. This is more about the academic how can I explain it? It's more about who you are academically. But then you also want to look at the strength in terms of what makes up a PhD student. What makes you a PhD student? What makes it? What's the quality? What are the qualities of a PhD student? You realize that the student that even had like 2.5 GP, who doesn't even have a strong statistical analysis, can be a strong PhD student because there are particular virtues that are very, very important, like perseverance, leadership skills, being able to work with people as work with a team, cross-functional collaboration. And then because you already have educational background, we all know, everybody already know that you can study, you can read to pass an exam. But then what would keep you going in the program? And those are important virtues with PhD. All right, so the body. So if you want to start the body, I always say that try to put in some facts. Don't just talk about your story alone. So you can start with facts just like based on 21st Century Act or US Public Service Act or according to the CDC. You don't have to put references. Don't put references in your personal statement or statement of purpose, but you can easily just put in according to a particular institution or an established institution, pretty much. And then you want to talk about your academic background. So you did statistics in your undergraduate program or in your previous graduate program. You know how to use software, statistical tools, R, Python. You wrote this in your research during your undergrad or masters. You developed a mobile app or website. Those things you achieved, that aligns with what you want to do in that program. So let's be more practical here. I would like to just know someone who know what they did in their undergrad or graduate program and what they intend to do. I would just like to be practical. Can someone I'm seeing Anthony.
Okay, Anthony Odo.
I think is
Anthony, we can't hear you. Can Michael Ifire, can he talk? Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I can talk. Thank you, Doctor.
All right.
Can I go on?
All right, yes. So just tell me briefly, your academic background, what you did in your undergrad or graduate program, the skill set that you learned in your program, and then what you want to do now. What program of interest are you pursuing right now?
Okay, thank you very much. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
During my undergraduate study, my research experience was in using computational techniques to model experimental model experiments. So basically, it was a general knowledge of fluid mechanics. So I was able to learn how to use the software first, then having a basic knowledge of fluid mechanics, I used the knowledge to apply it in the software to solve flow problems. So
Okay.
this was what made me pick an interest in doing my thesis in that area. So with that, I identified research journals that have experimental cases, and I tried to validate these cases with CFD models. So doing that, I was able to achieve similar results with the experiments in my CFD analysis, thus validating that my model can be used to predict further parameters. Like, for example, in fluid flow, you talk about the flow regimes and some other major parameters, pressure gradients and all. So with that experience, I did my thesis, and at the end of my thesis, I was able to submit my thesis to my supervisor, who later submitted it to a journal that was published. So basically, that's just my background in mechanical engineering. So currently, I'm interested in sustainable energy because looking at the growing population of the world today, especially in Africa, the energy demand is increasing. Thus, Nigeria or Africa has to embrace more energy alternatives, and to add to it that they have to be sustainable because we are trying to achieve France's goal of 2050, that's achieving a net zero energy system. So with that, I feel like if I can go into a graduate program, I'll be well equipped with the skills and expertise to be able to apply those technologies that are not readily accessible to us here in Africa to better the energy system of Africa.
Okay. So what are you interested in? What program are you interested in? Specifically sustainable energy. Is it a master's program or a PhD program in sustainable energy?
Okay, sustainable energy can be is like a sub program under mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. So I'm interested in a master or PhD program in mechanical engineering. That's the focus will be in sustainable energy.
Okay. Okay, great. So thank you for that. So I think you did a great job, telling me, even though you almost got me lost with flows and all, I was just trying to imagine if I wasn't accustomed with some of these terminologies. Hey, I mean, I'm lost already. But good job. But I think that you should also think about, what you just said, write it down, and then ask yourself, how can I make it simple for my audience? That's not small work, just to let you know the truth now. But then you understand it because you did it. In fact, I could tell that, yes, you did the work yourself. Nobody did it for you, right? Because you could explain the process and it made sense to me. And then when you are looking at sustainable energy, that if that's what you're applying to, for a PhD program, you begin to ask yourself, you know that you want to create a new knowledge. It might not be a knowledge that will change the world, but then you look at, you begin to, think like an individual that wants to engage in research. And then because you did research already, you already have that academic background. You're also telling yourself that the institution that I'm applying to, they have that program. And then I'm making statements. I'm using words that align with what the faculty members are doing. So don't just tell your story that I did mechanical. Yes, the known fact is that you did mechanical engineering, which you have a documentation to back that up. You did a research on computational whatever, and then you have a documentation, you have a publication to prove, to show for that, right? And now what you cannot show is what they are doing. So what you can show is aligning what they are doing with what you have done or you are currently doing. So don't just put your academic background out there. It makes no sense if it is not aligned with what they want. In fact, why should I give you $25,000 with tuition waiver for you to come and do a program? Why should the professor fund you when you're not telling them that your work aligns with what they are doing? I want us to think about that. And then your career goals. You're able to tell me certainly that you're interested in sustainable energy. These are the issues that you found in Nigeria. And this is how you think that it will be beneficial, by getting the necessary knowledge on sustainable energy. Obviously, there will be more narrowing down of things if you are going into research on that in that area. But if you're at the master's level, there's a free pass for you. Okay. But the good thing is that you have that broad explanation of where you were, what you did, what you have from what you did, and where you are going. And that's where your career goals come into play. And then what were those leadership qualities that you developed while you were writing this paper, while you were engaging with your friends? Some of us were probably active in church. Those are leadership qualities. So what particular leadership quality did you learn in church? If I have more time, I can just share like Pastor, if I have more time, I can share my own personal statement to see how I put in church, because I put in church, and that's just the truth. And I have another close family members that put in church in their personal statement. So yes, it's not you're not spiritualizing your your personal statement by putting church, because it's about the skill set. So what would that those leadership skills set that you and then don't state that I communicated. No, what did you do that made you develop those skills? And what were the results you achieved when you used those skill set, those leadership skills? Very important. How did you develop them? In what situation? And then example, other things that you want to pay attention to. Because America is a very diverse nation. Nigeria is also a very diverse nation. But I also learned from my experience that we don't capitalize on our diversity as it is here in the United States. You'll be so surprised that you are way, way more diverse than an average American. And this is not fallacy. It is just the truth. You're from Nigeria, where you have Tifi, Ibibiu, Igbo, Hausa, different kind of tribes that you relate with. Some tribes are just like probably like maybe they don't even have up to 1,000 people there in that same Nigeria, and you still be related with them, and you know how to relate to different set of people. So the question is that how do you put that in your personal statement? You have cross-cultural collaboration skills. You work with people from different part of the world. I'm sorry, from different part of Nigeria. That's applicable here. It's transferable. So put it there. Your oral communication, you might not be able to prove that in your until you have probably do an interview or you meet them in person. But if you're going to talk about that, you want to talk about presentations. Have you gone for conferences? If you're a preacher, put it there. But then, like, don't capitalize on that quality of that preaching. Like, okay, you address 1,000 population or group of 1,000 people on a regular basis or whatever. But make sure that this is what the process, in what situation, the process and the results you get from doing that. Very, very important. And then other qualities, perseverance. Those are important virtues. If you are going to a top program and you're going to work with a top faculty member, those are qualities that you need to, somehow put it there. Innovation, you must put it there. Critical thinking skills, your curiosity. If you're going for a PhD, I'm very particular about PhD. With masters, you might be, if you're going to an highly competitive program, you might also want to create a personal statement or a statement of purpose that is equivalent to that of applying to a PhD, because it is a competitive program. There's really nothing special other than the fact that you have more people, more strong candidates applying to the same program, which can easily weed you out if you don't put your best foot forward. So it's just as simple as that. And then your academic accomplishment. Did you get scholarship? Even if it's just 50 naira that you got, put it there. Make sure, once again, that it aligns with the program that you're applying to. Make sure that it aligns with the question. If they're asking specific question, it aligns with that question. And it's very simple. And so if you are keeping track of all what I've been saying so far, I've not deviated from making sure that your story aligns with the faculty, the schools of the program or institution's mission, the faculty's area of interest. That alignment is very important. And then that will take me to, after this slide, take me to tailoring. All right, so your story. Take pride in your story. It's your story. Don't let anybody write your story for you. I've read all sorts of personal statements, and I'm just like, don't do it. And it's so bad that it usually have its own impact on students, even when they go for visa interviews. Because they wrote it for you. You don't even know what you want. Because if you're writing a statement of purpose, you are answering the why. Why do you want to come to this school? Why do you want to do this program? Even if you end up not doing that thing in the future, the question is that you've taken time to think about what you want to do and how it aligns with what that institution wants. And so when you are going for an interview, the things you'll be worried about would be in the tone of your voice rather than what you want to say. All right. So your strength, your story, capitalize on the strength. You had a first class, even if it's a 2-2. Talk about that class that you had A in. If you had 2 in a program, that's not what will limit you from getting into a PhD, a strong PhD program. If you are applying to a statistics program and you had an A in one of the major statistics program, put it there that you had A in that statistics program, even if it's a B, because you were a strong student in that area. So don't limit yourself based on your weaknesses. Rather, tell a story around your weaknesses, but don't capitalize on those weaknesses. Don't. Capitalize on the strength. Talk about it briefly, weaknesses briefly. For example, in one of the personal statements that I personally wrote for myself, I told them that I'm very knowledgeable about artificial intelligence. I'm very knowledgeable about it, but I'm not a programmer. So you can easily, you can put in those weaknesses just to let them know that you are not that perfect, and then you are also being genuine to whoever is reviewing your story. Be clear, be simple, and let everything link logically. Let every paragraph link logically. And that's where the main work comes in. Tailoring everything that we've talked about. This process is not a one-time thing that you write within a week and you think you are done. It's an iterative process where it can take you 6 to 1 year, 6 months to 1 year, depending on how much time you invest into it. Be patient with yourself. Commitment is key. If you say that every week you want to visit it, 2 hours, visit it, and then write your first draft. Make sure you write your first draft and send it out to a friend, a colleague, or a professional to review for you. Don't let them write it for you. I'm saying that the second time. Not because you don't have the money to do it, or not because it's not obvious that you're busy, but because the writing itself helps you with the entire admission process and the whole transition into the program. Revise, proofread, revise, proofread. This is more of like an emphasis that you need to revise. Don't read it over again. At some point, you might have to like cancel an entire paragraph, do it all over again. And that's what makes it a better statement of purpose. And then taking us back to that previous summary that I sent to you guys, to come up with that simple personal statement. It varies for individual, but it took a lot of time to get to that simple statement for that first question that got the admission into the program. All right. I don't want to go too deep into the personal statement without saying other important things. So the email, for some of us who will need funding and we will need to we want funding. And so how can you navigate that space? If it's a PhD program or a master's program, depending, first of all, I recommend trying out R1 institution because they have money. Now, check the website of the institution and read up that the professors, look up the professors, read their research portfolio. In fact, you can even go and read up their publication just to kind of see the kind of work that they do. And then send them an email. Make it a very concise email. Introduce yourself. My name is Tunde. I'm currently applying to a PhD program in molecular biology. I'm interested in this program and I would appreciate if I can have an audio or video call with you to ask you important questions about this program. Don't talk about money. Don't ask about money from your first email because you want them to respond. You want to make it look like you want a relationship. I mean, obviously not a relationship, but like you want them to be able to respond to your email. So from the first email, don't send an email that will make them not want to respond to your subsequent emails. And so when you send that one and you're not making demands, you're not telling them, you can make inquiry about funding opportunities. But don't tell them that I need funding. Sorry, it's kind of funny because it happens a lot. And that's why a lot of people don't get emails. You can even write the right emails so I not get response. These people are very busy. They receive a lot of emails. So it's okay to send a reminder on that previous email. Just reply that previous email that you sent. Hi, Dr. This. I thought I'm sending this as a reminder to follow up on my previous, or just a follow up on, don't write too many stories. Just make it 3 sentences and that's it. Don't write stories. Don't explain anything, and don't beg them for, for money. Make it professional, and hopefully, you'll be favored. All right, nuggets. I thought I should put this out there just for us to, have that picture in our mind. Your story, your mission, their area of research, your career goal and academic goal. Some of us want to be, might probably want to be, academia. Qualities of your lived experience. Qualities from your lived experience. I mean by perseverance, patience, leadership skills, your academic accomplishment. A major component of what makes up a strong statement of purpose. Our time is fast spent, and then summary. Introduce yourself, your statement. Summarize your graduate or undergraduate or professional experience. Talk about your research accomplishment. I said earlier. Share information about exciting professional research experiences that aligns with the program of interest. And then of the program or the professor, and then give details of your academic research or interest, and be clear, make it simple, and that's pretty much it. If there are questions, I would entertain.
Yeah, Dr. T, please, can you go back to your summary? I just want us to reiterate certain things.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to ask you again, for emphasis reasons, that when we are writing our statement of purpose, the goal is that the people that are reviewing it, they have tons of applications. And the goal is for us to write an SOP or a personal statement that they will read from the beginning to the end. And you were talking, I remember our initial discussion, that it has to be captivating enough for them to read through, and your selling point is your introduction.
Yes.
Yeah. So can you say a little bit more of how important that introduction is? Because you are competing against people from all over the world. You can have a first class where you're coming from. You can be the overall best graduating student where you're coming from. You might have done research, you might have done everything. You might have a perfect GRE score, but this introduction is very important. Can you talk a little bit more about that introduction as a selling point in order to get your professors to slake their curiosity by reading through your SOP?
Right. So thank you, sir. So that introduction is very important, as I said. And one of the main reasons you want them to keep reading your application is that you want them to admit you to the program. And at the same time, some of these people can also forward. So when they are reading your application, also they can just forward that, not just to give you admission, they can forward it to some individuals that even those of us in the system are not even aware, just because there are some opportunities that exist that is just for whoever is favored. But then you need to put in that right information. For example, there are some institutions where I know for a fact that when you're admitted, you don't even need a graduate assistant. They just give you a fellowship straight away. Why? Because you are giving them something to reward you for. So you want to start with a statement that is not just about, so let me take a little step backward to what I said previously about tragic stories. So people have experiences that has motivated them. I've used that before in the past, and I realized that, and in fact, after having conversations with some top professors, they told me that it's not a good approach. And I had to stop doing it. So if you're saying that you know someone that had a particular trait, for example, sickle cell, and then because of that experience, you went into science. You did well in science. In fact, you started doing research in that area. And now you are picking more interest in, you've picked interest in getting advanced degree. So you can start with statement like sickle cell disease, a condition that is rare, but ravaging our community. Something like that. And then the person like, okay, so what are you saying? And then you can, and then, you know, this is me like cooking up things in my head right now. But the goal is that when you're making that first statement, you want them to want to read the next, and everything must link up. So if you are saying sickle cell, don't go and talk about finance. Like, oh, sickle cell is a huge problem in our community and it's ravaging, and it's killing people, kind of say a sentence, and then you now say, oh, one of the reasons why it's killing people is because they don't have money for healthcare service. No, there's a disconnect there. You need to make sure that everything connects logically. And one of the ways that you can have a strong introduction, if you are not a communication specialist, is to make sure that you have someone who revised that or is reviewing it with you. So you write it, you send it, a review, you write it, you send a review. And then you also want to make sure that you summarize in that first paragraph, that introduction, that first paragraph of your introduction, the first paragraph itself. What is motivating you to do that thing? And then when you state that known fact or that act, it must be an active sentence. Don't use passive statements. I wish, maybe after this, I'll see if I can bring up another statement to just share outside of this PowerPoint. But you also want to put in that academic goal. Why you are motivated, and for what you are motivated for. So so someone said, let me take the mechanical engineering. So you've identified that there's a lot of financial implication with energy not being distributed evenly in Nigeria or for whatever reason. And then you are also saying that, oh, you've identified so much opportunities in this area that resources keeps wasting, but then no one is paying attention to you. But then this is what you have been doing. I started selling generator. I don't know much about this area. I'm just saying, but I started selling generator to make sure that is that part of the problem. I mean, you don't have a power grid, right? It's not like you're creating a power grid, but at least you started selling generator to make sure that people can have power, and then they can start making bottled water. And then resources you're empowering people through that. And then you realize that there's so much that can come out of this area of research that you want to do a master's degree in sustainable energy. It's just as simple as that. Now, that talk is very cheap because it's very easy to talk about it. But the writing part is the work. And so you can easily achieve that by making sure that you give that introduction to someone who can easily review that for you, or who can tell you that it's perfect or not. And then when you're giving that person the introduction to review, make sure that you give them a reasonable context to juxtapose it with. So do they know the program that you're applying to and the mission of that program, what that program itself entails? And I think that's what I can say about that, Pastor. But I think that there's more to it than that. But if there are other specific questions I can answer, let me check the chat.
Yeah, some people want you to bring up your personal statement. Yeah, they want to see what you did. And someone is asking, how can we differentiate R1 and R2 universities? You can Google it, R1 University in the US, it will pop it up. Then what? Yeah, we talked about that. Someone said if I, it says if I am more interested in research, but my CGPA is 3.07, if it is advisable to apply to R1 or R2. Should I go with that?
Yeah, Pastor, you can.
Yeah.
You can.
So one thing I just want to say, I don't know if you have gone through my Nairaland thread. I talked a little bit more about applying to schools. There are certain schools. I'm not completely sure whether they are R1 or R2, but there are schools that, number one, I would say do a WES evaluation. That 3.07, by the time you convert it using WES, if it's 3.07 out of 5, then it should be about 2.8, 2.9. And there are schools that are good schools. For example, on top of my head, if I remember correctly, I think either University of Alabama or Alabama A&M takes about 2 point something GPA for grad school. And you see, one thing about the US is once you come in, if you come in into the US and you prove yourself in the system, you know, and you get a good GPA, let's say you come into Alabama now and you did well, you have a GPA of over 3.0 in your master's, you'll be a good candidate for, you know, for a PhD in any top university, you know. So what I'm saying in essence is, if you have 3.07 out of 5, do a WES evaluation. It will put you in a good standing to apply to a school that at least takes about 2.75. And if you want to know those schools, number one is to just go into Google, type in US universities that accept 2.75 GPA for masters. It's going to pop up. You know, then from there you can narrow down to universities that are whether you can now ask, is University of Alabama R1 or R2? Google is going to pop it out and let you know whether it's R1 or R2, you know. So these are ways that you can actually go through all those. If you have not read through my Nairaland thread, my handle is at Dafem Lions on Twitter. Go there. I've bookmarked a lot of thread that I've done on this. If you check my pinned tweet, I also did like a seminar like this on all these things. If you check my pinned tweet, watch the video, go through the Nairaland thread, go through the subsequent questions, and you'll be able to, you know, get answers to most of these things. Yeah. Another question, Dr. T, is kindly share your SOP. I mean, like, kindly share your SOP. Someone is saying, how many pages should an SOP be? What writing style and font size? How many paragraphs can we have in a SOP? Those are the kind of questions that are popping up. But I think everybody wants to see your SOP.
All right. So yeah. All right. But I'll answer for the question on formatting. Make sure you don't have more than 2 pages. I mean, if it's getting too much, it gets boring. They have, depending on the program, they might have a lot of applications, and the most important thing is that when you already drive out the main point, if it gets into more than 2 pages, you're probably like adding unnecessary information, sincerely. Except you have that vast years of experience and you've had a lot for your going for yourself before you apply to a PhD program or master's program. But then if it's a personal statement, don't put too many stories. Just make it concise. Let it make sense, and that's pretty much it. Spacing, you can do double spacing. But first of all, I think I need to stress that follow the instruction that you put in the application process. Instruction is like key to even getting the admission. If they say put in double spacing, put in double spacing. If they don't have any specific instruction or as regards formatting or number of pages, I usually recommend that you have there's this thing called white space. So the essence of all of this double space in Word document is that you are creating that white space, that it's not all the information is not clustered together. It's easy for the eyes to just like go laterally, left to right. They can keep track of how things are going. That's one of one of the reasons for having all of this double space. So you can, they say for readability, pretty much. So double spacing is a good idea. 12 font you can use, but definitely don't use 10 or 11 or 9 because you want to shrink everything to 1 or 2 pages. Make sure you have that readability in mind, pretty much, if there are no specific instructions. So for my I don't know if I should call mine a personal statement or statement of purpose, but let me share this first. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. All right. So the first one you guys saw in that PowerPoint is from this excerpt right here. So there was this question: how earning a PhD will affect your future career? So basically, as I said earlier, be very simple, be straightforward, make it simple, make it concise. And the main reason is that you cannot defend yourself in front of them. So this is the only thing you can use to defend yourself. So I just said, so basically, first, I believe the doctoral degree will prepare me for a leadership role in nursing research and innovation. So my vision is to obtain educational and faculty training that would facilitate my interest in providing solutions and improving the health outcomes of patients that visit hospitals or are discharged to other facilities of the community. To achieve this, I anticipate learning tools and skills required to make a successful nurse researcher. So my own rationale, if I remember vividly, was that I am not that perfect student. I'm coming to learn. So if I'm coming to this program thinking that I have everything already, and then I'm not coming to school, then the purpose of coming to school is outlived already. So I need to let them know that I'm coming to learn. And then I transitioned. I've always had the passion to teach, and to achieve this at the tertiary level, a doctoral degree will be required. So I'm already telling them that, okay, this is what I want to do, but this is how I've been doing it. And I need to also get some basic training too, some advanced training. So the process of obtaining a degree equipped me for a journey in academia as a university professor. If you want to be a sustainable engineer, you can put it there. I've done this research and this and that. In fact, I even published a paper so that I can become established in the area of sustainable energy. So, and then I put in, I'm positive that a career path will make me place me on a pedestal of global relevance. And that's just the truth. I don't know how, but I mean, that's just how I think about how, just be straightforward with it and be simple. And then to sum up, I believe that a PhD degree will provide a platform for decision making in government seats. Laws and policies continue to govern the practice. And these are known facts about the area that I put in this application. So they can easily, reason with that. And I put in my vision, my goal, what I plan to see. I envision being a decision-making table of nations in order to incorporate evidence-based research into decision-making. And when I was thinking of nations, I was basically thinking about Nigeria and America, pretty much. So you see how I use semantics there. And these are nations, actually. So, I mean, say another part is that, can I continue, sir? Okay. So the experiences that you feel have prepared you for a doctoral degree. So that's where we talked about academic background. Did you volunteer at some point? The qualities you develop along this during the process. So I put in based on my educational background, and the reason I stress that because I'm trying to group each paragraph. Because they have several options. They made it very open. Educational, training, it could be any experience, pretty much. So I have this bachelor's degree, I have this master's degree, and my overseas, so my overseas there was pretty much Nigeria. So my began to put it there. So data obtained on paper has its own advantage. However, retrieving the information for quality improvement, in short, for research, can be a huge challenge. I worked in 2 hospitals teaching private that implemented electronic health records, resulting in adequate sustainability. I've identified that the structures in place to retrieve and store data. Now, I'm talking about the problems that I identified in this area of interest. Mind you, I already know that there are professors working in this area. So when they are reading it, or when you tell them, or when you have one-on-one with them, then this is what you're already catching their attention. So if they have money somewhere, they're already in their head, there's a student that is interested in what I'm doing. So by the time you send follow-up, like this guy is serious, this lady is serious, they'll just send you email. In fact, they'll be the one they can pay for your flight safe. I'm sorry, I'm already using my Niger style, but yeah, they can pay for your, and that's true. I've seen a student that got a flight, paid for everything. So yeah, so play a major role in quality of data to be obtained, in which in turn have influenced over the validity of inference, that is the outcomes of your research. So in my quest to be a different nurse, I chose a multidisciplinary direction for my career path. By starting off with a master's degree in this, I had the opportunity to learn important statistics. So what did I learn? So we're talking about experiences, right? That would help me with the PhD program. So what did I learn in this program? I didn't just talk about my educational background there. What did I learn there? So I learned statistical background. I learned how to do research. And then more so, I talked about how I volunteered. So that willingness, because that's in research, and I know PhDs will attest to this, that there are days where you will not be motivated. So if you say you volunteer to do something, it shows that you are really self-motivated. You're a self-motivated person. So I volunteered with my faculty mentor in one of his projects. In fact, I took up the data analysis role of most class projects using, this is a tool that I use, SAS, so that I could improve in my quantitative analytics skills. Now, I identified, so basically, if anyone is reading, they can tell that this person is always thinking of how to be a better person. Now, you are not coming into this application stating that you have achieved it all. Then that means that you are not supposed to be in the program if you already achieved it. So you need to also make sure your message reflects that learning process that you are learning, and you will keep your curiosity to keep learning is there. So during my program, I began to read about machine learning. Now, there's a lot of self-learning in the PhD, in the doctoral program. Nobody will give you course content at some point anymore. You have to start learning, reading things up for yourself. And so I began to read about machine learning, big data, artificial intelligence, which really caught my attention. And now, as mentioned in the presentation, I'm not a programmer, but I understand several processes in artificial intelligence. I can adequately function in an interdisciplinary environment. My curiosity and interest in technology and healthcare were one of, I moved from data. Everything started from data, transition to technology. The whole transition, it must link up logically. This is not 100% perfect, but so even to me, I'm very much convinced 4 years later that it's a good statement, So you need, that's why that genuinity is very important, even for you when you're writing it. That okay, so I understand several processes in artificial intelligence, blah, blah, blah. So now my curiosity landed me at the XXX, where I did an internship. And then my mentor ensured that I kept improving my technical skills. You see, that learning process, it was a difficult journey. Now I'm talking about, part of my weakness, in a subtle way, but I enjoy the process and I'm still growing. So throughout my life in school, I've taught several groups. Now I'm no longer talking about educational background anymore. I'm talking about other experiences. So you have to make sure that you keep track of the points that you're putting in each paragraph. So throughout my life in school, I taught several groups of students. Sometimes I laugh over my energy. You have to be careful when you're using all of this kind of phrase. Yeah, because it can easily throw you up. But I was fortunate to be able to put it there. But sometimes I laugh over my energy when I remember this aspect of my life. prior to getting to college, I visited families with kids within my neighborhood to send their kids to my house for after school home classes. Interestingly, I requested for a little stipend on every child per day, 20 naira. And that's the truth. I developed this skill throughout my own. So now I talked about the foundational part of learn. Pastor, can I continue, sir? Or okay. So I realized that I learned how to teach. I learned how to get to be incentivized through all of this process. And then I transitioned prior to college into college. I developed this skill throughout my undergrad. The same skill set that I started doing from teaching kids, getting 20 naira from them. And then I developed this skill throughout my undergrad by teaching new students inside. I know there's more story to this that I shrink down, but I tried my best to kind of like put it together. So being the class representative of my colleagues for 5 years, I also had the opportunity to make several presentations. So you're already talking about your oral communication skills. Currently I have a part-time role. Now, just to buttress that point of oral communication skills through teaching and all, currently I have a part-time role to teach CNAs they understand, the people I send this application to understand what this terminology means. And then to become LPN, I'm comfortable teaching, especially when I have a full grasp of the subject matter. You see, I'm not trying to be what I'm not in this entire story. And so, most importantly, I work with people daily, and my leadership skills have always been leveraged. Right from high school, I've been fortunate to hold several leadership roles, from class representative to library prefect. It didn't end there. I grew to love serving people and working with them. Interestingly, I was the class representative throughout my undergraduate years. Until this moment, I've held several leadership roles spanning from church, academic setting, clinical setting to core research settings. In fact, my last internship in summer 2018, I was the lead person for my group. You see, I didn't use gang words. Just be very simple and straightforward. And then I was the lead person for my group, even when I had colleagues who were smarter than me. So as I said, let me reiterate that you're going to that program to learn, but then you're also showing them that you have skill set that will be relevant. And then to sum up, I believe that I have a wealth of experience that has prepared me for this program, and I'm stuck with giving my best. So, I won't take too much of our time, but this is just a simple approach. And I can tell you that I didn't write this in 1 week, and I didn't write this in 2 weeks, and I didn't write this in 1 month. I had failures before getting here. So that's one of the reasons why you need to reach out to people who can help you review it. It's okay when it's hard for you to even know, difficult for you to write it. Yes, because it was tough for me when I was applying for my master's program. But then I've learned, I did a lot of writing in my master's program. So the more you write, you get better at it. So if you're not the writing time, which is not something we really do a lot from our educational background, we don't really do a lot of academic writing other than exams and then a few homework. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I hope I was able to convince you guys and not confuse you. That is strong.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. T. I just want to say, someone is asking, how do I download professors' publications? Most times you need to be registered before you have access. Please, what is the best way to download? One thing I want you to note is that on these questions, even though you may not be able to download all their publications, there are some. If you check professors' website, they can give you like work in progress or previous versions that are available. You can check their research gates. Most of these professors will provide their writings, their publications and research gates and everything. If you Google it or you go to Google Scholar, you might be fortunate to see one of these works or something like that. Then what paragraph should be the most captivating in an SOP? As we've said, your introduction is very important because that is your selling point that determines if your advisor or the people reviewing your applications will really go through your application from the beginning to the end. Before I let Dr. T go, we were talking about funding. Yeah, we know there is this standard way of funding. You apply, they consider you for graduate and teaching assistantship. To get you, tuition waiver and stipends and insurance. But in my write-up on Twitter, I was talking about the fact that there are some other ways of getting funded, that universities could have centers and everything. I just wanted to elaborate more because, we touched on those areas when we were talking this morning. Dr. T, over to you.
Yes, sir. So I want to reiterate one more time that the institution you apply to, you want to first of all verify if it's R1 or R2. Not R2 also have funding. They just have different approach and different professors. So every school website usually have that statement around funding. So they put it there, funding opportunities or funding. You must try to look for that. So like the general school-wide page that talks about funding. And then there are specific programs too. They will put it there, that funding. Some program will tell you we don't have funding. Don't even stress yourself when they put it there that we don't have funding. There are thousands of, I don't know the total number of schools in America, but there are a lot of schools in America. So if one tells you don't waste your time, just move. And then when you also do that, you verify that institution, they have funding in form of research assistantship, teaching assistantship. Some have administrative, it's graduate assistant role, but then it's administrative, it's not research, or neither is it teaching. And you want to make sure that you are aware of all of this information. So when you know that they have them, either university-wide or the program of interest, specific to the program of interest. Now, you now also want to look at who are the people, who are the gatekeepers that are usually involved with this whole funding. I can convince you that you will not know all the gatekeepers from the website. But there are some people that can lead you to the main gatekeepers. So number one, from the school-wide gatekeepers, you want to look at the Dean of Graduate Studies. It's kind of dicey with the registrar's office because those ones are not really, they really don't pay a lot of attention to that. But then you can reach out to the registrar's office too. But the Dean of Graduate Studies, now we are all blacks pretty much. So look for in that institution, see if they have anything around diversity and inclusion, Office of Diversity. I know this is recorded, but yeah, I've gotten several diversity money, and it has really helped me a lot because they put it there because they know that people of color need support, and that's the truth. So just make sure that when you're whatever application that they give you to write, you are being genuine with it. That's the most important thing because it's a record that will be kept. So I already mentioned Office of Diversity. So I'm still talking about university-wide. And then There are associate deans. There are administrative people, not just the top people. I've received a form before that it was because it wasn't even on the website, like for you to fill the form. It was just because I spoke with an administrative person and she just handed the form over to me, the hard copy form. And you can tell that where you will get that information from, I cannot say specific. It can come through different means, but you need to be aware of those means. And I'll just take a little step backward to that email part that I sent you. Since most of us are still in Nigeria and you cannot meet these people in person, your email speaks louder than anything. So how you craft it, I already talked about that. It's very important. Don't put in too much story and make it brief. And it's always okay. I think it's okay to, I believe, not like I know. Someone said that if you say you believe, you mean that you had a doubt and you're being convinced that that is the truth. But I know for a fact that you can always ask them a question. Are there funding opportunities? Put a question mark. Banka. It's a question. If you don't put a question mark, the way you craft you draft your sentence is a 1/2 kind of probability of whether they respond or not. But if you have a question there, except they don't want to respond or they didn't see that email, a natural person will be compelled to want to respond to a question that is not rhetorical. Okay. So, and I learned this from professors actually. So you want to do that. And then, I think to some extent, I've exhausted the Office of Graduate School. And then I'll talk about administrative. I'll talk about program interest last. So administrative aspect. Universities have a lot of offices, a lot of departments. If you go to a school's website, that school's website is like a one-stop shop. If you can keep going, clicking, that will lead you to multiple places, and you just realize that there's so much going on. Because it's a large expanse of land with offices and people. Especially if they tell you that they have over 30,000 students. So who are the people taking care of these 30,000 students? It is not 200 staff. And at some point, some of these administrative staffs also need support. That's why they take in students as graduate assistants for some project management programs, from project coordinator event opportunities, like do administrative work. Some are it's very large. So basically, you can check website of certain departments and then reach out to them. If you have skill set, if you're an art, if you're good at illustration, you're good at graphic designs, and there's a department in that institution that they do graphics, or they are looking for students that want graphics, reach out to them. So it doesn't have to necessarily be what you intend to study, or what you intend to study, or what you are going to study in that institution. But then what are the skill set that you have? It's like you're applying for a job. It's just like that. And you're telling them that you have the skill set. So, and they'll tell you to apply. So, and just have that at back of your mind. And then for a program of interest, there's programs specifically, they will tell you that we have funding for 5 students. Put in your application. Don't tell yourself that, oh, it's for 5 students. If you are convinced that that's your program, that's what you want, put it there. You just never know. Sometimes they expand funding opportunities. Mind you, institutions, university professors, committees, they are always talking about funding. It's a conversation that never ends. So just know that if you send an email about funding, it's not a bad thing. It is how you construct your message that's the most important thing. Okay. So feel free to ask, because if you don't ask, you might not get. So that's that. And then some have scholarships. Some department, they have scholarship. Or when they give you admission, they give you scholarship. You want to look out for all of those information. Some programs, they might not put those information out there expressly. Send an email to the program coordinator. Every program has a program coordinator. There's a master's degree program coordinator. There's a PhD program coordinator. Send a message to them. Ask them. Try to make judgment of whatever it is that they tell you. And if you need to move on to another person, just to make sure that you are communicated, because you don't want to rely too much on just submitting your application, thinking that they will send you an email to tell you that you've been funded, except if that program expressly states that when you apply, funding comes with admission. So if they didn't say that, you have to put in the work of communicating or looking for individuals that might be interested in you. And we have not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 10, not 15 cases that have from Nigeria received funding from Nigeria. And it's not just about getting admission or funding with the admission, by just reaching out. My first scholarship, I saw a Ghanaian professor of late memory. I just sent him, I got an admission, and I heard, and I'm exploring funding opportunities. The only thing he did was just to point my eyes. He just sent me, oh, do you know about this so waiver? That was the only thing that he did. And I put in there, and I went to search, and I found out that, wow, this exists. And I put in my application. That was how I was able to come into the US. Just that one sentence that man said. So you need to ask, not your friend or someone that is in another school, but you can ask them too, but then make sure you ask that program of interest. Reach out to the people. You can reach out to a random professor in that program and tell them that, you're currently applying to this program and you're open to get information about funding in this area. Is there any information they can provide, or can they share any link, or can they refer you to someone who is in charge of that in the program? And that's, in a nutshell, that's just what I can say. But if you believe it, you will get it. But you got to do the work.
Thank you very much, Dr. T. Some people are asking me that, Dr. Olufemi, some of us are not part of the 20 mentee group you selected on Twitter. Yeah, even though you are not part of the 20 mentee group, I have a larger group, and I've been communicating with the group, and everything I've been posting on the larger group, I've been posting. But if you are not in either group, send me an email at gre.nigeria.com. gre.nigeria@yahoo.com. gre.nigeria@yahoo.com. And that is just for those that are on this meeting. If you are on this meeting, send me that email tonight, and I'll send you the link to join the larger group. The thing about the 20-man group is I have a one-on-one commitment to the 20-man group. And even for those that are in larger groups, some of them, I just randomly call you up, ask how the application process is going on. And just like Dr. T said, the SOP, for example, is not something you write in a day or two, or 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And that is why we're starting the journey of 2024. 2024, we're starting it right now in April. So that by the time the admission window opens in September, we are ready to go. Now, see, I have 30 members in my larger group. Only 17 of them came to this seminar. So, and because I made a roll call. So now I know those people that are serious. If anyone that is not in this list walks up to me now to review their SOP, the truth is I'm going to say no, basically. I'm going to say no, because that shows that they are not serious about it. So I need serious people that really want to get this done. So that is that. So you can send me an email tonight. I just posted my the email gre.nigeria@yahoo.com. Yeah. The announcement. If you don't see the announcement, something happened on Telegram yesterday that it appears that Telegram just kicked out everybody. So if you don't see the announcement, that means probably you've been kicked out. So the initial link that I sent out, click on that link to rejoin the group again. And if you're having issues, send me an email at gre.nigeria@yahoo.com. I'm not going to give you the link to reach out to Dr. T. I'm telling you, Dr. T is very busy. Very, very crazily busy. I'm telling you, where he is now is not even in his house. He joined this meeting on a journey. You understand? So he's very busy. He's writing grants. He's doing a lot of things. He's an extremely busy person. So to get him here, is a lot. And I got him here because I know he has the substance. And from everything he has shared with us tonight, you'll see that he really has the substance. He's knowledgeable. So I'm not going to give you his contact on Twitter. He's on Twitter, but I'm not going to give his handle. And that's why he only puts his name today. So please, I'm not going to give you. Yeah, gre.nigeria@yahoo.com is the right one. I posted it. Somebody said I got admitted without funding. I have been reaching out to faculties, but I have not gotten any response up till now. What can I do to improve my chances? Just like we said, and Dr. T pointed out, there are different types of universities. If it's not an R1 university, or R2 universities, there are some universities in the US that are profit-oriented. Let me tell you the truth. They are profit-oriented. They will not give you funding. They just want to get money. And they are usually private. Some of them are even mushroom universities. As we were talking today, it came to my mind that part of the ways that you can actually get into schools that have funding, every department have a society. For example, and I'm applied economist, and we have Agricultural and Applied Economist Association. If you go on the website of aaea.org, for those that are applied economics or agricultural economics, you're going to see list of departments. All the departments you see that are part of that association are probably R1, R2, and they will give out funding. I'm 99.99% sure. So for chemistry, for example, if you go to American Chemical Society, for example, you see all the list of departments under there. That could even be a faster way to search rather than, to look at the departments under them. They are likely to be funded. So I don't, and that is what I'm doing in this mentorship class. And I'm going to be talking more to the people in my group. When you're searching for school, I made a thread on Twitter about searching for schools. If you join our group and you get that, lay your hands on it, it will guide you. But one thing I want to say is that when you begin your school search, get an Excel sheet. For all the schools that you go through, write the name of the school. Do they require GRE? You can have columns. GRE required, yes or no. What is the application fee? What are other requirements? What are other requirements that they require? Do they require statement of purpose? Yes or no? Do they require personal statement? Yes or no? These are things that when you go through all these schools, it can help you to narrow down to like 5 schools that you will give a definite shot out. And you're able to narrow down and things like that. So all these things will help you. And I'm expecting all my mentees to have that Excel sheet and begin to tick out. At the end of the day, you see the ones that you have better chances. What is their GRE requirement? Some will tell you GRE of 300 and above. Some will tell you GRE of 310 and above. And you now do your GRE. And again, one thing I do is if you have issues getting GRE materials and things like that, reach out. You know, we're trying to coordinate to make sure that everybody have materials. You have everything that you need. The goal is that by September 1st or by the end of September, our application packets are ready. We know the schools we are targeting. Our SOP is ready. Our application packet is ready. Our transcripts are ready. Your unofficial transcripts. You know, if any school is asking for TOEFL or something, and you are from an Anglophone country, this is a time for you to send them an email to request a waiver. You know, and if they don't waive it, just like Dr. T said, there are thousands of universities in the US that are doing your courses, you know, that you can apply to. So if one is doing anyhow, just leave them, move to the next one, you know. So the essence of this mentorship class is that by the time that we are ready, by the time the application portal for next year is opened, you know, all the application materials are ready. And we are just, you know, sending in our application and just waiting for responses. You know, so that is the idea of this mentorship class. And as I said, I've told everyone in my group, I'll be calling you randomly to be checking on your progress. I can request for the Excel sheet you said you have, you know, and say which are they, send it to my email. I'll check it. We'll go over it together. We'll try to look at which ones. And I'm telling you something, is going to be a do-it-yourself. You know, there are some schools that I know already, like for the engineering students, there are some schools that I have in mind that I can tell them, but if you just sit down there and you are waiting for me to give you the schools to apply to, that will not happen. But by the time you bring in your Excel sheets to narrow down the schools that you're applying to, and at the end of the day, you are telling me that, oh, I have these 10 schools, and I don't see these certain schools that I know that they have funding and you can have a good shot at them, I can now say, okay, look at these schools as well. But for me to just give you, I'm not going to give you fish. I'm going to teach you how to fish. Dr. T, over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. So I was just trying to look for ways to resources, because I realized that we only spoke about most resources, but didn't give, like, I didn't share any, but I'm happy to put in a link, and I can also like share my screen real quick to just show them how to use it. So it's right. It might be new. It might not be new to some people, but let me just go ahead and share that real quick. 1 second. Okay, I just opened it. I'm trying to share my screen now. So basically, the essence of this link is for you to be able to find schools easily. If you're not the type that sometimes Google will just randomly show you places. So can you see my screen? All right, great. So so petersons.com is a great resources for you to find schools. So a good approach to do that is you can just, so you are this type that you don't want to go to a place that is cold and you're just particular about like the tropical area. All right, so just say, okay, Texas is nice. I mean, it gets cold sometimes, so you just go to Texas and just like search. But how did I get here? But anyway, I already sent you guys a link. So just type in Texas, and then you can scroll to see all the schools in Texas, right? So now, by the time you see all the schools in Texas, you ask yourself, if you're interested in Texas Health Sciences and University, for example, and then put it on, Google, is blah, 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 blah. Is it an R1 institution or not? And then you can also read up their website, read up on their website what they have, So, but the whole essence of this is helping you like narrow your school search. So if you're interested in North Carolina, just type in North Carolina rather than searching for individual schools that just come to your mind. I know Harvard always comes to everybody's mind, but a lot of great institutions in the US that are way, way better than Harvard in so many areas. So yeah, North Carolina have great institutions, UNC Charlotte, Chapel Hill, Duke University. I mean, Duke is a private school, but anyways, this will come in handy whenever you want to do school search. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. T. And I hope we all have, I don't think we have any additional questions, and we've been able to address everything. I know it's late in Africa now. I want to thank everybody for joining. We're going to be working on this recording to make sure that we put it on YouTube. I'll be working with Powerful Exploits, and they will be putting it. And once they send me the link, I will post it and include it in a part of my pinned tweet. Once again, I partnered with the Top Achievers Network, which is under Powerful Exploit International, with Pastor Falodun, who has been a very great encourager when it comes into all these things. When I told you that I've been doing this for 14 years, guiding people out to come to the US, but I only put in the link on Nairaland and answered questions. So he said, no, you have a Twitter page, keep doing it, keep pushing out the messages and things like that, So I want to really appreciate him. Pastor Falodun, thank you very much. Thank you for being an encourager and pushing me. I just want to stay in my comfort zone, but doing this is actually giving me joy. And as I've told you, everything you are getting from this platform, from my Twitter page, is free. I'm not going to ask you for money, and I'm not going to give you money. It's totally free, and I'm just doing it. It just gives me joy to do it. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been doing this for 14 years. Part of my mentees, one of them is an assistant professor even two of them, in the US, and they were part of this too. So hopefully I'm trusting God that next year, many of you will be here, and you also be mentoring others that want to come here as well. Maybe you'll be getting the spotlight like Dr. T now. If any of you on this platform, you are a nurse, you have a bachelor's in nursing, or you have a master's in nursing, and you have a very good portfolio, reach out to me. Okay? Reach out to me. And you are interested in a PhD program in nursing, reach out to me. We'll go from there. I'm not going to tell you details, but we'll go from there. Thank you very much. Let me just give Pastor Falodun to say a closing remark. Hello, sir. Hopefully,
I'm here.
There's a lot of meeting. Okay, sir. Over to you, sir. I just
want to thank you and thank Dr. T for, making our time to be a blessing. I want to appreciate everyone also on the line. May God bless you all. May our dreams come true in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you so much, sir. God bless you, sir.
Amen. Thank you, everybody. And I told you we're going to be having another series of SOP writing in 2 weeks. It's probably this time is going to be, I think, 7 p.m. Nigerian time. It's going to be in 2 weeks, April 22nd precisely. I'm going to be sending out the flyer very soon. If you're not following me on Twitter, my handle is, I'm going to post it at Dafem Lions. I post opportunities every day in Europe, in Asia, and everything. And I also post trade. If anything comes to my mind, I just post it. Like some of the things that Dr. T has shared today, that is not there, I can update some of my trades and things like that. So if you're following me, you get all these updates. You can set up a notification for my Twitter handle. And if you want to be part of the mentorship program, everyone that is online tonight, it shows you are serious about it. So I'm going to be giving that open check. Send me an email at gre.nigeria@yahoo.com, and I'm going to be sending the link for you to join the Telegram group. God bless you real good, and thank you for coming. Dr. T, I want to really appreciate you. Thank you for creating time out of no time to really give back. I really appreciate everything, and I pray that God will continue to prosper the works of your hands and also open greater doors of opportunities for you in Jesus' name. Thank you very much, sir, from the depth of my heart.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, can we all unmute and appreciate Dr. T? Just unmute and just appreciate Dr. T.
Thank you, Dr.
so much,
T.
Dr. T. Dr. T, God bless you.
Thank you
Dr.
very much.
Femi, God bless you.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Kenchi.
night rest. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, sir.